Hello, welcome to this Qualoupe class in which we're going to look at the Method Manager. So here we have the Qualoupe homepage, my favourites tab, which conveniently the Method Manager icon is on. So if I click on that, open the Method Manager application. So here's the Method Manager and it opens up with no data in it, so we're going to dive straight in and create a new method. So I'll click on the new record icon and I'll give my method a suitable name. You can see that the method name field is shaded in this pink colour with dotted border, and this is to indicate that you have to enter some data into here. This is a mandatory field. So my test method is going to be average weight, so that's what I shall call it. Average weight. When I've typed in something that's valid, the field goes green. Now there is other descriptive information available here. There's a description at the bottom. I can actually drag this bar down to show a bit more of the description field. So I'll ignore test group for now and I'll come back to that. So we can classify our methods to be a certain type. So if I click on this button, we get a lookup comes up. Oh, there it is. And this comes from the lookup table. So these are values that have been entered into the database previously. I think we'll select physical. I know it's coming from the lookup because down in the bottom here we have the option to manage lookup values. Select. The screen, when I'm recording, the screen seems to go black as I do this, but it doesn't actually do that in real life. It's only just a result of this recording software. Anyway, so similarly we could look up laboratory. There's two fields here, instrument type and instrument increment. If your method is the result of using an instrument, you can select information from the instrument table, but I won't do that at the moment. I'll cover that in a separate class. Description, so we'll go mean of sample weight Okay, so I've just put in a little bit of description later on, just in case it's not self-explanatory from looking at the method. So if I save the changes, and I'm just going to refresh the screen, I'm going to click on F5 just to load the data up again. You can see that test group has automatically been populated with the same thing I put in method name. There will be a separate class on test groups, and I'll mention test groups again when we're looking at creating materials. For now, if you don't put anything in there, if you don't select anything into there, it just populates with the method name. But you can actually use groups to group your methods into separate types. So if you had this is average weight, so we're doing weight to 3 decimal places, weight in tons, weights in milligrams, that sort of thing. You could group these all together with a test group of weight. Anyway, I'll cover that separately in another class, but I just thought I'd mention it for now. So this is my method descriptive information. So the next thing is I have to create some parameters. So the bottom part of the screen, first tab is parameters. So you need one parameter for every single result you want to record, whether it's a result that you physically type in is a test result, or whether it's a calculated result or other. So I shall quickly create a new parameter and we'll call this result 1. Remember, I'm doing an average weight, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create parameters to record the individual readings, and then I'm going to create another parameter which will calculate my average. So result 1, it's numeric. We can look up units, and we want mass. The units, you have a selection of units that are entered by default into any new Qualoupe system, but you can edit these with the units manager. So anyway, I'm going to go grams. Now, we can set the decimal precision here to say how many decimal places we want, but I'm not going to do it for the raw results. And the other thing I'll point out here is we have include in report, tick. So I'm going to untick that. That sets a database flag because we're going to enter 3 raw results and a calculation. But actually the calculation, the average weight, is what we want to see on the report. So I'll untick that, which will help us exclude raw data from the from any report we might do later. So save changes. So there's my result 1. So I shall whiz through and create 2 more just the same. Oops. Result 2. Grams. Don't include in report. New parameter. Result 3. Okay, so we've got our 3 raw results. So now we're going to create a new parameter. This one is going to be average weight. I could have called it result, but I quite like to call it the same as the method, so you know that that's what this result represents. It's a bit more clear. Again, this is going to be in grams. This time it's not a numeric result. If we click on the drop down, you can see we have different types to choose from. Again, I'm going to look into these in more depth in another Qualoupe class separately from this one. So we'll just, for now, click calculation. You can see when I did this, calculation tab became live. I'll come to that in a second. We're going to say we want to report our weight to 2 decimal places. We're going to leave include in report checked. Save. So if I go to the calculation tab, it gives me options of creating a new calculation from a blank one or using a saved one. Well, I'm going to create a blank one. So I'm going to click on here, and we have an area in which to build up the calculation. So I'm just going, this is going to be a basic calculation. So I'm just going to type in open brackets, and what we want to do is add these 3 together and divide them by 3. So I could actually type in the name, but if I click on insert new reference, I'm just waiting for it to open on the screen. Okay, so insert new reference is open, and you can see it's listing the parameters from the current method. So we'll have result 1, continue, and we'll go plus. And then if I was confident in my typing and knew I wasn't going to make any typos, I could go result 2 plus, or if I prefer, I can look up the reference. So we need the final result. There it is. Continue. Close the brackets. So result 1, result 2 and result 3 are going to be added together. Then I put a divide symbol divided by 3. Save. So I've saved my calculation. I do have the option to test my calculation. So let's give that a go. The test calculation window opens up. Here's our parameters, and we have the option to insert a value. So if I double click on that, I can type in a value. So we'll put in 4, 5, 6, and then hit continue. And you can see that this is the result it's derived, and it tells you it's added that and 6. Oh, I wonder why that didn't have decimals on. Never mind. Divided them by 3, and that's brought out the result of 5. So it's added them together, divided by 3, and brought out the result that I expected. So I think that calculation's working. If you had syntax errors in your calculation, for example, you had you'd missed out a plus, or it just was something else was wrong with it, you'd get a little error message telling you there was a syntax problem. Okay, so I'm happy with that, so I'm going to, I should say what I'm doing here, that when you create a new method, it comes in with the status of N for new. In fact, as I hover the mouse, you should be able to see. Oh, you can't see on there, never mind. But a little pop-up will show you N represents new. As long as the status is N, you can edit this. So I could go away, do something else, come back to it later today, do some more work on it, and edit it. But once the method is ready for use, you need to change the status to approved. So this is governed by your permissions within Qualoupe, but because I'm logged in as admin, I've got approve rights. So if I click on here, it gives me statuses to select. I could create a new version of it at this point, but I want to approve it, so I'll select approved, save my changes, and now if we look at the top of the screen, everything's locked down and unavailable for editing because the status is approved. When it's approved, it can then be used. You can now use this method in a sample or put it together in a specification, which is what we'll do in a bit. Now, if I thought, oh, I've made an error in here, I'll go to details and go, I've got that set to decimal precision 2, where really I think I should have set it to 3. I can't edit it. I can click on it, but I can't do anything about it. So I'll just briefly show you. To edit a method once it's gone to status approved, you have to create a new version, and you can't see it at the moment. I'm going to have to load it up. There's my current approved average weight version 1, and down the bottom we have average weight version 2. So I'm going to highlight that one and select it and get that out of the way. And I can go to the average weight parameter, and now I can edit the decimal precision to 3, save my changes, and approve that. So version 2 is now the currently approved version. If I load my records again, you can see here average weight version 1 has now gone to status O for obsolete, and the currently approved version is version 2, which is good, which has got my decimal precision of 3. So that was a bit of a quick sprint through using the methods manager and the basics of creating a new test method. I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much.